I'm Cape Joel, and I've been a comic book YouTuber for a hot minute now, 4 or 5 years depending on how you count it. That career has spawned numerous channels, numerous podcasts, video series, video essays, and well, just about everything you can imagine. And one of the questions that I receive the most, probably more than just about any other, is, Joel, I really like X character, but I really don't know where to start. And that's why I had the idea to create a brand new series that I hope you're all going to enjoy watching as much as I enjoyed creating. That new series is called Required Reading, and given the character's rise of popularity on CW's television show, and the fact that he's going to be having a new movie coming very soon, and the fact that Joshua Williams has breathed fresh life into the character in the comics, I really couldn't think of a better character to start off this new series with than Barry Allen the Flash. I'm Cape Joel, and join me as I tell you the stories that you need to read to better understand the character of the Flash. Now, as with any comic book character, if you're looking to better understand what makes them tick, then your first stop might as well be their first appearance, and for Barry Allen the Flash, that book was Showcase number 4 from 1956. While Barry may not have been the first hero named the Flash to be published by DC Comics, don't worry, we'll get to that dude in a minute, it was this issue right here where we see his now iconic origin story. As it goes, police scientist Barry Allen, yes, you heard me right, police scientist, the term crime scene investigator was not coined properly yet, got himself dosed with a chemical cocktail and struck by a bolt of lightning that would grant him his amazing powers. Now, as many comic book historians will tell you, and I agree, it was this first Flash story here that really kicked off the Silver Age of comics. The Flash's slick race car red suit paired with Carmine Infantino's unique and groundbreaking artwork would be vital in helping to set the groundwork for the way comics would be comprised for years to come. Moving on from there, as I stated before, Barry Allen was not the first Flash. That honor goes to Golden Age Jay Garrick. So you can understand why another essential Flash read comes in the form of The Flash number 123 from September 1961. This story, entitled The Flash of Two Worlds, sees the two heroes meet for the very first time. What's special about this moment in DC comic history was that it was the first time the multiverse really opened up. You see, after being published for years, it was decided that the adventures of Jay Garrick and indeed all of his compatriots actually took place in another Earth separate from the main one. And the stories of the people who lived on that Earth were collected in comic books. In fact, Barry Allen was inspired to take up the name The Flash because he was a fan of Jay Garrick's comics. In the story proper, Barry vibrates his molecules to such a point he ends up crossing the barriers between Earths. He winds up in Keystone City, the home of the original Flash, Jay Garrick, and together the two speedsters join forces to battle 3 of Jay's deadliest foes, the Shade, the Thinker, and the Fiddler. Ah yes, the Fiddler. Because nothing on either Earth is scarier than a string instrument. The Flash of Two Worlds might be one of the most referenced events in all of DC Comics lore, and it's so impactful that it's being felt outside the comics too. Look no further than the second season of the Flash TV show, where they went out of their way to recreate the now legendary cover. Okay, now maybe heroes joining forces isn't exactly your thing. If so, look no further than the Flash number 155 from 1965. This storyline, entitled The Gauntlet of Supervillains, saw the formation of the Rogues, a supervillain stable convened under Captain Cold and made up of some of the Flash's most famous baddies, including Mirror Master, Pied Piper, Captain Boomerang, The Top, as well as Heatwave. What's interesting about this story is that unlike most supervillain groups, the Rogues don't fancy themselves bad guys, at least not all the time. They just want to rob, and eventually they evolve their own code of criminal ethics, including no hurting women or children. This story is also important for the characterization of the Flash, showing that while super speed is great for most things, he can indeed be overwhelmed. In the end, we find out the Rogues were actually being puppeteered by the super intelligent psychic primate Gorilla Grodd, who even goes as far as to manage to make Flash slow down by using his mind powers. But as you might have guessed, Barry powers on through and wins the day, defeating the gauntlet of supervillains he was forced to run through. Beating all those bad guys was a pretty big win for the Scarlet Speedster, but as a wise man once said, a hero is not judged by how he behaves in victory, but how he deals with defeat. And for Barry Allen, his greatest failure may have come in the storyline, the death of Iris Allen, that spanned issues 275 to 284 in 1980. In the story, Eobard Thawne, the Reverse Flash, who is obsessed with Barry Allen, discovers the identity of Flash's wife, news reporter Iris West, and as such, he kills her by vibrating his hand at super speed through through her head. This is a truly tragic moment, made all the stranger by the fact that he killed her at a costume party. So Iris died while dressed as Batgirl. Ooh, geez, I wonder if Barry ever told Barbara about this. Rocked by the unbelievable tragedy of these events, Barry Allen would come to blows with his friends in the Justice League and even briefly consider quitting being a superhero altogether. Eventually, his grief would lead the Flash on a time-traveling adventure where he tried to set things right. And the crazy thing is that ultimately, it doesn't work. His love stays dead for a good amount of time before they eventually retcon it, because they always do. But still, this moment of course marks a major turning point in the personal history of the Flash, one where time travel and personal tragedy would go on to define him, a subject we will most definitely be returning to before this video is done. And while we're on the subject of death, you can't talk about required Flash stories without at least mentioning Barry Allen's own death in the pages of Infinite Crisis number 8. We see the Flash heroically sacrifice himself to destroy the evil Anti-Monitor's cannon, in doing so fading completely out of existence. It's a truly powerful, moving moment, and to this day still regarded as one of the most impactful deaths in all of comic history. In fact, killing a Flash has become something of a tradition for DC Comics to up the stakes whenever they need to. Oh, but this is comic books we're dealing with, and never forget that no one stays dead for long. However, Flash stayed dead longer than most, a staggering 20 real-world years. But given enough time, DC Comics would use a loophole in Barry's demise, saying that he wasn't really gone for good, merely trapped in the Speed Force, the mysterious energy field that he and other speedsters draw their power from. And when he finally did return under Geoff Johns, that story would be chronicled in the pages of the Flash Rebirth. This story saw Barry try and get his life back on track, make up for lost time, and even evaluate his place in this new world. Writer Geoff Johns, who had already had great success writing Wally West, the Flash successor, who I do plan to cover in a whole other video, would also go back to the well and re-establish the blood feud between Flash and his arch nemesis, the Reverse Flash, as well as add new layers to the lightning bolt accident that gave the Flash his powers in the first place. This was a time-hopping epic that paid homage to not just Barry's legacy, but also all the Flashes who had come before and after him. This story was so big, in fact, it brought the entire Justice League into conflict with the Flash for a little bit, and even featured a scene wherein Barry talks shop with Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern, who, much like him, had been resurrected by Geoff Johns not that long before. It's a work of art and a personal favorite of mine. Now, the Flash Rebirth proved to be such a success with fans and critics, it eventually led to a Geoff Johns run on the Barry Allen Flash. These stories were really good on their own, but they would eventually culminate in the mega DC crossover event known as Flashpoint, an event that, while it was not originally planned to do so, would end in Barry Allen the Flash once again having a major effect on the DC multiverse like he did all the way back in the Flash of Two Worlds. As the story goes, Flash, feeling a great deal of guilt following his last run-in with the Rogues, decides to use his powers to travel back in time and save his mother from her death at the hands of the Reverse Flash, who, after reading Rebirth, we know was actually the one who killed her in a long con plan to ruin Barry's life. This one act ends up having incredible ripple effects throughout the entire DC world. Friends become enemies and vice versa. Just to add fuel to the fire, Barry is now trapped in this new world minus his speed powers, and he has no way to get home. So with the help of Thomas Wayne, Bruce Wayne's psychotic father, who has become a darker, grimmer Batman for this world, decides to help the Flash regain his powers by recreating the accident that gave him his abilities. Flashpoint ended up being so huge it served as the basis for probably one of the best DC animated direct-to-DVD movies they've ever done. In fact, I would dare argue that the movie's a little better than the comic, and the next season of Flash is going to be itself based in Flashpoint. The other big legacy for Flashpoint is that it would end up being the lead-in for the New 52 era of comics, and as such, it still holds up as one of the best Barry Allen tales. It's a story about the lengths a hero will go to fix something they themselves did wrong. It's also a sweet story for the few moments wherein Barry gets to live the life that he could have had with a loving mother and without the pressure of being a superhero. Now, the name of the show still is required reading, and with that, we head into the modern age of comics with the New 52 run on Flash. I won't lie, this series wasn't my cup of tea when it first started. Hilariously enough, I felt it moved a little too slow for its own good, but Francis Manapul and Brian Bucatello did eventually manage to come up with some cool new Flash ideas. This new series stressed the importance of Barry's relationship with his father, a man wrongly convicted and sent to jail for the murder of his wife, and these events pushing Barry to become a CSI investigator. If all of this sounds familiar to you, it should, because that's basically what they ran within the first season of the Flash TV show, and chances are if you're watching this video, it's because you got interested in the Flash thanks thanks to the TV show. The villains also got themselves some substantial reworking as well. Instead of being gadgeteers who built their powers, the villains could now use their abilities without the aid of equipment. There's also a new version of the Reverse Flash, one with a much deeper, closer tie to Iris, and eventually the return of full-on Eobard Thawne. Even Wally West got an update until it was revealed that this kid wasn't actually Wally, just a kid with the same name, but hey, you got redheaded Wally back anyway as part of DC Rebirth, and that's yet another place you could start if you wanted. And there you go, everybody, 8 must-read Barry Allen Flash stories here on the first episode of Required Reading. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you all learned a little something. If you want to purchase some of these collected superhero tales in trade, then please by all means use one of my links down in the description below. You'll be getting yourself something nice to read, and you'll be helping support me in the creation of more videos like this one. Did I miss any Required Flash stories? If so, tell me down in the comments section below. What's your favorite Flash story period, and what's a hero you would like to see me cover on a future episode of Required Reading? Until next time, everyone, I've been Cape Joel. Keep reading, everybody. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching my newest video. I hope you enjoyed it, and while you're here, why not check out another video I have on offer? Or maybe if you're feeling in a supportive mood, you want to like or subscribe. And if you want to support the creation of more videos just like this one, then please by all means check out the Cape Joel Patreon. A little bit goes a very long way, and I will see you all next time.